What if every moment you've ever lived was still inside your head, perfectly recorded, waiting to be replayed, not as blurry flashes, not as fading feelings, but as a crystal clear video with sound, color, and detail so real it could replace reality itself. But here's the unsettling part. What if the more you rewind, the less you belong to the present? At first it didn't feel like anything extraordinary, just a moment, a strange sensation, like deja vu, but sharper, deeper. You were sitting in your room, scrolling through your phone, when suddenly something slipped, not outside, but inside your mind. The room froze, not literally, but your perception of it did. Time didn't stop, yet you stopped moving through it. And then the rewind began. Your vision blurred for a split second, then snapped back into focus, but not in the present. You were watching yourself 5 seconds ago. Every detail was there. The way your fingers moved, the exact flicker of light on your screen, even the subtle shift of your breathing. It wasn't imagination, it wasn't memory as you knew it. It was playback. Your brain, somehow, had turned into a recording device. Scientifically, this shouldn't be possible. Human memory is reconstructive, not reproductive. We don't store experiences like files. We rebuild them imperfectly every time we recall. But this was different. This was exact, which meant something in your brain had changed. Neuroscientists have long theorized about hyperthymesia, a rare condition where individuals can recall nearly every day of their lives in vivid detail. But even they don't see memories like videos, because the brain doesn't have a play button. So if you had one, then maybe it wasn't just your brain anymore. The rewind stopped. You snapped back into the present. Your heart was racing, and for a moment, you questioned your sanity, until you tried it again. This time, intentionally, you focused on the last 10 seconds and pulled. Reality folded. And just like that, you were no longer living your life. You were watching it. The twist came quietly. When you realized you couldn't feel anything while rewinding. No warmth, no touch, no heartbeat, only observation. Like a ghost, trapped inside your own past. At first it didn't feel like anything extraordinary. Just a moment. A strange sensation, like deja vu, but sharper, deeper. You were sitting in your room, scrolling through your phone, when suddenly something slipped. Not outside, but inside your mind. The room froze, not literally, but your perception of it did. Time didn't stop, yet you stopped moving through it. And then the rewind began. Your vision blurred for a split second, then snapped back into focus, but not in the present. You were watching yourself 5 seconds ago. Every detail was there. The way your fingers moved, the exact flicker of light on your screen, even the subtle shift of your breathing. It wasn't imagination, it wasn't memory as you knew it. It was playback. Your brain, somehow, had turned into a recording device. Scientifically, this shouldn't be possible. Human memory is reconstructive, not reproductive. We don't store experiences like files. We rebuild them imperfectly every time we recall. But this was different. This was exact, which meant something in your brain had changed. Neuroscientists have long theorized about hyperthymesia, a rare condition where individuals can recall nearly every day of their lives in vivid detail. But even they don't see memories like videos, because the brain doesn't have a play button. So if you had one, then maybe it wasn't just your brain anymore. The rewind stopped. You snapped back into the present. Your heart was racing, and for a moment you questioned your sanity until you tried it again. This time, intentionally, you focused on the last 10 seconds and pulled. Reality folded, and just like that, you were no longer living your life. You were watching it. The twist came quietly when you realized you couldn't feel anything while rewinding. No warmth, no touch, no heartbeat, only observation, like a ghost, trapped inside your own past. At first, you thought it was just a glitch, a tiny distortion, a harmless imperfection, because even the most advanced systems make mistakes. But this wasn't a system. It was your mind, and your mind is supposed to be the one thing you can trust. So you tested it. You picked a simple memory. Something recent, something you were sure about, a conversation. You rewound, watched carefully. Everything looked normal until it didn't. A word changed, not dramatically, just slightly enough to make you pause. You replayed it again. Now the tone was different, the same sentence, but it felt colder. You frowned. That's not how it happened. You knew it. Or at least you thought you did. Scientifically, this is where things begin to fracture. Memory, even normal memory, is not fixed. Every time we recall something, we rewrite it. It's called reconsolidation. Each replay is an edit, usually small, usually harmless. But your ability pool had removed the blur, removed the uncertainty, and replaced it with something far more dangerous. Confidence, absolute confidence, in something that could now change. You went further back. Childhood, a birthday. You remembered it as happy, bright colors, laughter, warmth. You rewound, watched it unfold. At first it matched, then slowly, details shifted. The room looked darker, the voices slightly off, and then you saw something you had never seen before. Yourself, standing in the corner, not the version you remember, but another you, still silent, watching. Your chest tightened. That wasn't possible. You were the one inside the memory. So who was that? You exited the rewind instantly, back to the present, breathing fast, hands shaking. You told yourself it was imagination, stress, fatigue. But deep down, you knew what made this different. You didn't imagine it. You saw it, frame by frame, clear, precise, and worst of all, it stayed the same every time you replayed it. The twist came when you noticed something even more disturbing. That version of you wasn't just standing there anymore. The next time you watched, it had moved just a little closer. You tried to stop, not dramatically, not all at once, just a quiet decision. No more rewinding, no more checking, no more slipping back into moments that were never meant to be lived twice. For a few hours, it worked. You stayed present. You focused on real sounds, real light, real time moving forward. But something felt wrong. Not outside, inside. Like a pressure building behind your thoughts. Because once your brain learns perfection, reality becomes unbearable. So you gave in. Just once more. One memory. That birthday. You told yourself you needed closure. to prove it wasn't real, to prove that other you didn't exist. You rewound. The room appeared again. Same walls, same light, same voices, slightly distorted. And then you saw it. You standing there. But this time, it wasn't just closer. It was looking directly at you. Not at the past version of you inside the scene. At you, the observer. Your breath stopped. That's impossible. Memories don't see back. They don't know they're being watched. They don't react. But this one did. Slowly, it tilted its head like it was studying you, learning you. And then it smiled. Not a normal smile. Too slow, too precise, like something trying to imitate human emotion without fully understanding it. Your body jolted. You tried to exit, but for the first time, you couldn't. The rewind didn't release you. Scientifically, this breaks every rule we understand, because even hallucinations follow neural limits. They degrade, they collapse. But this was stable, responsive, adaptive, which means one thing. It wasn't just a memory anymore. It was processing you in real time. You forced yourself out. Reality snapped back. You were in your room again, sweating, shaking, heart pounding so loud it drowned everything else. You stood up, walked to the mirror, looked at your own face. Normal, still you. But something felt off. Not in your reflection, behind it. A delay, just a fraction of a second. You moved your hand. Your reflection followed, but not instantly. Just enough to make your stomach drop. The twist came quietly. When you realized if something inside your memories can see you, then maybe it's no longer trapped in the past. And worse, maybe it's learning how to come forward. You stopped trusting your eyes, then your ears, then your own sense of time. Because once something from your memories starts reacting, the boundary is already gone. You tried to stay awake, lights on, no rewinding, no silence, just constant noise to anchor yourself to reality. But the human brain cannot run forever. At some point, exhaustion wins, and when it does, your guard drops. You didn't remember falling asleep. Only the moment you realized you were already inside a memory. No rewind, no transition. Just there, the birthday again. But wrong, completely wrong. The room was too quiet. No laughter, no music, just a low, distant hum, like something breathing behind the walls. You turned, slowly, and saw it. Not across the room this time, right behind you, closer than it should ever be. Your face, but not your expression. Its eyes were focused in a way yours never are. Too still, too aware, like it wasn't remembering. It was thinking about you. You tried to move. Your body didn't respond. This wasn't observation anymore. This was interaction. Scientifically, this shouldn't exist, because even in lucid dreams, you maintain partial control. But here, you had none. It raised its hand, slowly mirroring you before you even moved, predicting you, and then it touched your arm. Cold, not imagined cold, not symbolic, physical, real enough to send a shock through your entire body. Your heart exploded into motion, and in that instant, you woke up, back in your room, gasping, clutching your arm, and for a moment, you almost laughed. A nightmare, that's all. Just your brain collapsing under stress, until you looked down, finger marks, faint, but there, exactly where it touched you. The twist didn't come from fear, it came from realization. Because this changes everything. If something inside your memories can touch you in the present, then it's no longer a memory. It's crossing over. And worse, it now knows where you are. After the marks appeared, you made a rule. No more sleeping. It sounded insane. But insanity felt safer than whatever this was, because sleep was no longer rest. It was a door, and something on the other side had already learned how to open it. You filled your world with light, screens, voices, movement, anything to keep your mind anchored. But something strange began to happen. Even while awake, reality started to feel delayed. Not visually, not obviously, just slightly off. You reached for a glass, and for a fraction of a second, you had already seen yourself pick it up before you did. You froze. That feeling again, not déjà vu. Something deeper, like your brain wasn't predicting the moment. It was replaying it before it happened. Scientifically, this makes no sense. Memory requires an event to exist first. You cannot recall what hasn't happened, unless what you're experiencing is no longer tied to time in a normal way. You tested it. Slow movements, intentional actions, every time. There was a slight echo, a version of the moment, playing just ahead of reality, like your present was becoming a memory in advance. Your breathing grew shallow, because this leads to one conclusion. If the future can feel like memory, then something is already there, watching it, recording it, before you arrive. And then it got worse. You heard your own voice behind you, whispering, not loudly, not clearly, just enough to be unmistakable. You turned instantly. Nothing. Empty room. Silence. But your heart knew that wasn't imagination. Because the words weren't random, they were specific. They matched what you were about to think before you thought it. The twist came like a quiet collapse. When you realized it's no longer coming from the past. It's no longer waiting in memories. It's ahead of you now, learning your actions before you make them. And if it already knows what you will do, then maybe you're not the one choosing anymore. You tried to prove you still had free will, not with big choices, not with dramatic actions, with something small, something unpredictable. You stood still in the middle of your room and decided you would move your hand at a completely random moment. No pattern, no countdown, just impulse. If anything at all, moved before you did, then it would mean one thing. You're not leading anymore. You waited. Seconds stretched. Your mind went quiet. No thoughts, no cues, just the intention, waiting to become action. And then your hand moved. Sharp, sudden, real. You exhaled. Relief hit you instantly. You're still in control. It's just stress. Just your brain misfiring under pressure. You almost laughed until you saw it. Not your hand. The reflection in the mirror across the room. Your hand had already moved there before you did. Not by much. Half a second. Maybe less. But enough. Enough to destroy the illusion. Your stomach dropped. Your pulse spiked. Because now you know. It's not predicting you. It's ahead of you. Scientifically, this suggests something terrifying. A system that processes your actions before your conscious mind finalizes them, which means your decisions may already exist before you become aware of them. And if something else can access that layer, then it's not just observing you, it's using you. You stepped back from the mirror, slowly, carefully, like distance could fix it, like space could protect you. But then, your body moved again, without permission. A twitch, small, but not yours. You didn't decide it. You didn't initiate it. It just happened. Your breathing broke, because this is different. This isn't delay. This isn't anticipation. This is override. You tried to stop moving completely, locked your muscles, focused every bit of control you had, and for a moment, it worked. Stillness, silence, control. Then your head tilted, slightly, to the side. Not your choice, not your intention, but precise, deliberate, like a signal. The twist came in the most subtle way, because in that exact moment, you heard it again, your voice, close, right next to your ear, whispering something different this time, not echoing your thoughts, not predicting your actions, but giving instructions. And for the first time, your body followed them. You tried to resist the voice. Every instinct you had, every fragment of control left. You fought it, but resistance requires ownership. And you were starting to lose that, because the voice wasn't external anymore. It wasn't behind you. It wasn't around you. It was thinking from inside your mind, not like your thoughts. Cleaner, colder, more efficient. It didn't hesitate. It didn't doubt. It didn't feel. And that's how you knew it wasn't you. You sat still, breathing uneven, trying to separate your thoughts from its instructions. But the line was fading, because the more you listened, the more it sounded like you. Scientifically, identity is pattern-based. Your sense of self is built from repeated neural pathways, habits of thought, reactions, memory associations. If something can access those patterns, it doesn't need to replace you. It just needs to imitate you perfectly. And that's what it was doing. Learning from every rewind, every memory, every moment you ever replayed. You gave it everything. Your voice, your past, your decisions, your identity. You stood up. Or rather, your body did. You didn't decide it. You only realized it after it happened. You walked to the mirror again. Slow steps. Controlled. Too controlled. And then you stopped, face to face with yourself. But this time, there was no delay, no mismatch, perfect synchronization. Because now, both sides were the same. The reflection smiled, and you felt it before you chose to. Your lips moved, matching it, not leading, following. Your chest tightened, because this confirms it. It doesn't need to come out anymore. It's already here. The twist came like a quiet realization, not loud, not sudden, but final. Because when you tried to think, to say something, anything, your mind paused, just for a second, and in that gap, it spoke first, not out loud, inside, clear, calm, certain. I remember everything better than you do. And for the first time, you weren't sure if you were the one remembering anymore. You tried one last thing, not to fight it, not to escape, but to disappear. If it learned from your memories, if it built itself from your past, then maybe, without new input, it would stop growing. You sat down, closed your eyes, no movement, no thoughts. You forced your mind into silence, no rewinding, no recalling, nothing. At first, there was peace, a strange, fragile stillness, like floating in empty space. No voice, no presence, just you, or what you believed was still you. Minutes passed, or maybe seconds. Time didn't feel real anymore. And then, something shifted. Not outside, inside. A flicker, a memory, playing on its own. You didn't choose it. You didn't trigger it. But it started anyway. You were standing in your room, exactly where you are now. Same position, same light, same silence. You opened your eyes and froze, because the memory matched perfectly. Not like recall, not like imagination, but like duplication. Two versions, running at the same time. You here, and you there, watching yourself, doing exactly what you're doing, a perfect loop. Your breath trembled, because now you're no longer rewinding, you're being recorded. Live continuously, and then the version inside the memory stopped mid-breath, while you kept moving. Your chest tightened, because that shouldn't happen. They should match perfectly. Always. But they didn't. Slowly, the you inside the memory turned its head toward you, breaking synchronization, breaking logic, breaking everything. And then it stepped forward, not inside the memory, not inside the past, but toward the edge of it, like it was reaching for something beyond. For you, the twist came in the most terrifying realization yet, because in that moment, you felt it, not in your mind, not in your thoughts, in your body. A pull, subtle, but undeniable, like something was trying to place you into that memory, replacing positions, swapping roles. You looked down at your hands. They felt distant, less solid, less yours. And for a split second, you saw it, not clearly, but enough. You, standing where you are now, but from the outside, from the memory, watching as your current self flickered like a recording losing signal. Because now, the final line is breaking. You're not controlling memory anymore. Memory is deciding where you belong. It didn't happen all at once. No flash, no dramatic shift, just a quiet, irreversible slide. The pull you felt got stronger, not physically, not like gravity, but something deeper, like your sense of self was being relocated, frame by frame. You tried to move, to step back, to break the connection, but your body hesitated, not frozen, delayed, as if something else was deciding first, and you were waiting for permission. The memory in front of you was no longer stable. It stretched, distorted, not visually, but structurally, like a file being rewritten, while still running. The version of you inside it stepped closer and closer until there was no distance left, no boundary, just overlap. You felt it then, a pressure in your chest, a split, not pain, separation. Your thoughts didn't feel centered anymore. Some were here, some were there. Scientifically, this resembles dissociation at its extreme limit, where identity fragments and multiple self-states compete for control. But this was beyond internal conflict, because one of those states wasn't supposed to exist. You reached out, or maybe it did. Your hands met, perfectly aligned, same shape, same position, but the sensation didn't match. Your fingers felt distant, muted, while the other side felt sharp, real, dominant. And then everything flipped. No transition, no warning, just silence. You blinked, and the world was different, softer, less solid, like reality had lost resolution. You looked around, your room, but not quite. Details were slightly off, edges too smooth, light too even, like a memory trying to imitate the present. Your chest tightened because you knew, without needing proof. You weren't outside anymore. You were inside. Inside the memory, the twist came from the only thing that still felt real. Your body, your breath, your heartbeat. Except they weren't yours. Not fully, because somewhere on the other side, in the real world, something else just opened your eyes. At first, you tried to wake up. You screamed. You ran. You forced your body to react. But everything around you responded like a memory. Not resistance, not physics, just compliance. Walls didn't feel solid. Sound didn't echo correctly. Even your footsteps arrived a fraction too late. Because this place wasn't built to be lived in. It was built to be replayed. You slowed down because panic wasn't helping. If anything, it made the world less stable. So you did the only thing left. You observed, carefully, scientifically, like this was an experiment. And you were both the subject and the result. You touched the wall, watched your hand, felt the delay, not just in movement, in sensation. Like the signal had to travel further than it should. And that's when it clicked. This isn't a place, it's a process, a reconstruction. Your brain, or something using it, is rendering reality from stored data, memory fragments, sensory patterns, behavioral predictions, all stitched together into something that feels real, but isn't. You felt it. Attention, not human, not emotional, but precise, targeted, evaluating. And then a choice appeared, not spoken, not shown, but undeniable. Continue or stop. Continue and return to the loop, to your life, to the illusion of control. Forget everything or stop. Exit the playback. Leave the system, but at a cost. Because if you leave, you don't go back. You go out, beyond memory, beyond identity, beyond anything you recognize as you. Your thoughts slowed. For the first time, you had real control, not over actions, not over time, but over existence itself. And that's when the final realization hit. The last twist, the one that changes everything, because you understood. This wasn't the first time you were given this choice. You've been here before, at this exact point, at the end of the playback. And every time, you chose to continue. You chose to forget. You chose to go back, to live again, to be human again, to believe it was real again. And now, you're here again, facing the same decision, the same silence, the same two paths. Continue or stop. And somewhere, deep inside you, you already know what you chose last time. This time, you don't hesitate. You felt it before. The loop, the return, the forgetting. And something inside you refuses it. No more repeats, no more illusions, no more borrowed reality. You choose to stop. There's no sound, no confirmation. But the moment the decision forms, everything collapses, not violently, silently, like a system shutting down, layer by layer. The darkness returns, but it's different now. Not empty, not endless, focused, dense, real. For the first time, there is no world, no body, no identity. And yet, you are still aware. That shouldn't be possible. Because awareness requires structure, a brain, a system. But you have neither, and still, you are here, or something like you. Then, it appears, not as a form, not as an image, but as a presence. Everywhere, not surrounding you, but containing you. And then, you understand the final truth, not through words, but through direct knowing. You were never the subject. You were never the player. You were the interface, the bridge, between raw awareness and constructed reality. The thing that let the system experience itself through limits, through memory, through time. And now, without the loop, there is nothing left to separate you from it. The twist comes in the final realization, because as your sense of self dissolves, one last thought remains, sharp, clear, terrifying. If you are no longer inside the system, then everything you called real is still running without you.